I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before I call the meeting to order, I would just like to take a moment to thank Shauna and Bob for their service and dedication to the village of Hortonville. And I think that is a thank you from all of us. So thank you very much. Okay, number 2, we will call to order the April 16th, 2026 village board meeting. Roll call shows all trustees are present. Staff is present except for Jane, she is excused, and our attorney Tyler is also here. 4 agenda changes, are there any? Okay. 5, consent agenda A, April 2nd, 2026, regular board meeting minutes. B, April 2nd, 2026, committee of the whole minutes. And C, presentation of accounts and other claims against the village. If there are no questions, I would need a motion to accept.
I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Roll call, Jim.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. 6, pre-registered citizens to be heard. Are there any?
Luke Abbott's 371 High Street.
Try to keep this as quick as possible. So, Aaron's been really helping me a lot with this situation. But hello, my name is Luke Abbott. My wife Bethany and I own a duplex at 203 North Mill Street. Tonight I wanted to bring our last quarter's water bill and circumstances to your attention as first and possible, forgiveness and consideration. And like I said, Aaron's been quite helpful during the investigation and thought it might be worth a shot to just bring it to the board. I think it's bullet B on the new agenda.
New business.
For new business. So last quarter we had a water bill. It was $1,604.05, which is a lot. So this equates to between 80 and 90,000 gallons of water in talking with the administrator and Aaron. Historically, this property has had a water bill of around $300 very consistently, which if you live in Hortonville, that's pretty normal, I think. And I've always had between 2 and 4 people living there. Presently, there are 3 long-term tenants. They're actually from Hortonville, and they're very aware of the water usage. I'm the landlord. We have 1 meter, and I pay for it, which makes it challenging sometimes for stuff like this. So I was pretty surprised when I opened up the bill, so I went over there to do some investigating. So let's see, I checked the pipes in the basement, as well as the water heater, outside faucet. Also went into each unit, checked each one has a toilet, each one has a bathroom sink, a shower in each one, and washer. Nothing was obvious. I went and checked the basement floor to see if there was like that much water washing down the floor. Didn't see anything. So at this point I'm kind of wondering if it's like something with the meter, because it just wasn't obvious. So I stopped by the village to talk to Aaron, and he heard me out. We inspected the graphs, got sent into the app, which I didn't know we had the app, but I showed a huge steady spike from early January into February of thousands of gallons of water a day. There was also an older gentleman from the water department that stopped by for a visual inspection of the building, but nothing obvious turned up. We also reached out to the water meter company to see if it was possible the equipment could be faulty or out of calibration. It was advised that it seemed to be performing as designed, which still leads to the question, where did 65 or 75,000 gallons of water go off of previous usage? And the only idea that we could come up with was perhaps a stuck water softener drain pump. If you guys have water softeners, you know those things kick out like a lot of water when they cycle. And you know, and even if you left the faucet on, it was typically full like 1 to 2 gallons a minute. So I don't even know if you just left the faucet or shower on for a month and a half straight, if you could even get to that quantity of water. Now, I realize it's a huge ask for the village to consider a full forgiveness on an intermittent issue that happened once. And I've been monitoring the water usage since. However, I'm asking for a possible consideration of splitting the $1,214.26 sewer usage bill so that I could pursue a new water softener. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? 7, committee reports, there are none. 8, unfinished business from previous meetings, there is none. 9, new business. discussion and possible action on appointment of citizen members of the commission, and this must be done during the month of April. So what it would be is planning and zoning, Julie would be staying as the trustee, Ryan Hansch, re-upped his, Rick Grunwald decided to also stay, and Dave Moe will also stay until 2029. Then on the Economic Development Committee, Village Trustee Jim Moeller will be taken over. Shauna was in that position. Then the Zoning Board of Appeals, Robert Reimer, is re-upped till 2029. Peter Oak also is re-upped till 2029. Board of Review, the alternate will now be Carrie Lathrop. And then the Hortonville, Hortonia Fire District, the village trustee will stay Jim Moeller, and Tom Banker and Mike Belisle will be on until 2028. The Senior Activity Committee is putting a new member in place. That would be Nancy Osborne, and the village rep will be Therese Abbots. The Black Otter Lake District rep will be Dalton Davis. If there are no questions, I would need a motion to accept.
I'll make a motion to accept the appointment of members to the commission.
I'll second. Roll call, Jim?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, we will go to B, discussion and possible action on requests for reimbursement for Luke Evans.
So, as Luke said, we kind of dove down to try to figure out what was going on. You can see here that the water started spiking in December and stayed abnormally high until about between 10 and 11 o'clock on Sunday, February 8th. You know, it sounds like nothing was fixed, so I'm not sure kind of what happened there, but if nothing was fixed and they never found anything wrong, we really don't have anything to stand on to credit him back. So I told him that, you know, we do have the option of coming to the board with it. Nathan, do you have the...
This is our water leak policy.
So for water leaks, we could do a 50% credit to sewer charges for up to 1/4 if we do found out how the leak occurred, but since we don't really have any evidence, that would be pretty much the only thing if the board was decided they wanted to do something. Because it is abnormal. You go back through all of his past water bills, and they were all around that 300 range. To jump to 1,600 is strange. And it's strange that it just quit right there, and now it seems to be working properly.
And then we have a way to check the meter that everything was good with the meter.
And the meter's functioning now, and
Okay.
it's never changed out or anything.
I have a question. So, but, like, so I have this app as well, and like, there's all of a sudden but then it drops down to, like, is it because there's nothing there, or is it because it's accounting for such a high amount there?
It's accounting for such a high amount.
Okay, so there are bars in that graph, it's just, that just don't appear there, is what you're saying?
Well, the top graph is days, and the second graph is hours.
Yeah.
So it's very, you're looking
It's
at.
a little-
Okay,
You're looking at
See,
time
we just
frames
tried to
of
drill
the-
down kind of when it stopped.
okay. And then, Luke, are there
Yeah,
2 meters there or just one?
there's just one water meter.
Because that was always R1, it was always a single family house, and you
Yeah.
said now it's a duplex?
It's been a duplex for many, many years, but, I mean, we got it 5 years ago, and it's the same layout there, but I have inquired about putting a second meter in, but I've never done it.
And there is only one water softener, Luke?
One water softener, it's right by the valve there, and the drain is right next to it, so I mean, it's just a straight shot in there. I just think you'd see the water flowing through the basement if you had a bad pipe or a bad, water heater. I mean, you'd have a trail of water going through there. I checked out, the outside faucet was shut off, but it goes right onto the grass there. And the snow was like perfect, and there was no washout in the yard. I mean, it feels like 5,000 gallons, I mean, that's one thing, but it's just like so much, it's like you'd think it'd be nice to find where it went.
Did you have anybody come out and look at the water softener?
I haven't had a plumber, but it's been working, I mean, you know, it's recharging. I mean, it's an electrical device with some kind of a control on it, so I think something theoretically could get stuck on it. It would be pretty odd, I think, but
So why wouldn't you correct it, thinking that it possibly could happen again? Why did
that's
you
what
not
I'd like
have
to
checked?
do. Like, I would like to replace the softener, but it's a lot of money. I mean, it's between the water bill and the softener, I'll probably spend $2,200. So like, I thought it'd be nice if I could get some credit, then I would just proactively replace the water softener. Just because it's,
Do we know that it's fixed? I mean,
The-
do we know that
the-
the usage, because we got two different scales here, so.
His
is
usage is back to normal now.
Okay, for how long? Since February?
Yeah,
Okay.
So it's December 27th to February 9th, what you're saying. And it was so abrupt, you know, and it's not like a gradual, or you could see certain days where, like if it was malfunctioning, usually something malfunctions a couple times before.
If you look at my water bill, it's very similar. Somebody decided to turn on my spigot outside
And left it on.
and left it on. Just came by my house, turned it on. They didn't show up on my cameras because my camera was too far away. But but it was up above my deck, and I had a nice, by the time I went back outside, I had a nice umbrella of frozen water out there, and my water bill was nice and high. But I have two separate meters, so I didn't have sewer cord, so it was only a few $100s.
one time I had a bad toilet flap there, and the village called me proactively. It was like $150 too much. And I texted the tenant, and they found it like instantly. Like, they're pretty good tenants. I know you're taking my word for it, but like, I still kind of question the equipment. Like, it's just, I'm so surprised they wouldn't have noticed it if it was in the house. But
You would think they would have heard something running. I mean, I trickle my water in the
and I go
winter,
through
that
the
little bit in
places,
the basement, I
the
hear
place
it.
looked like I go through the places at least once or twice a year. Things look
Yeah.
normal. I'm not, like, I know tenant-landlord relationships can be tricky sometimes. Like, I can't put my finger on it.
But you said you had excessive use when the toilet was bad or whatever, and then
I
the
think 2
village
years
called,
ago,
the
I
village
did.
called you, because they
Yeah.
saw the usage
Yeah.
go up. Does anybody like monitor that now, or what was, what were?
we have a new person in there that, you know, Lisa was there for so long, she almost had them all memorized, and she noticed something right away that didn't look
Right.
right.
And that's just a courtesy thing. It's really
Right.
the responsibility of the homeowner
No, I agree.
to keep their equipment and everything in running order.
I agree, but also we don't really know the cause either, because it's just bizarre that, like I said, I can hear water trickle in my basement because I have to trickle it, and I can hear it. It drives me insane. So this much water, and that's a little trickle. This much water,
You know, like our water softener, when that goes off, when it
You know that.
regenerates, that drives me nuts. I can hear
Yeah.
it, yeah.
it's just very odd because you would hear this much water running in your house or going anywhere. It's just odd.
So what is the solution?
Well, what's our policy again? You know,
So
50%.
policy, this is the exact policy. The water leak inside the home or business where a service of the wastewater treatment plant are used shall qualify for 50% credit of the sewer charges for excess consumption for the quarter in which the leak occurred.
And they usually have to bring in a slip
Water-
saying that they
The credit shall be
replaced
based on
something, they had to
estimated
replace the
usage.
toilet, a part, something. So it's just odd that this miraculously quit, but nobody saw or heard anything in the home. It's a very odd thing, and hopefully the renters weren't abusing it.
I just don't know how they could go through a couple, like some of them days I thought it was around 2,000 gallons of water. And then I know those guys really good, like I don't know why they would do that to me. They pay their rent on time, like I just have nothing to believe. I mean, it'd be easier for me to say I found something and then say, hey, it was the toilet flap.
Right.
But I still wouldn't feel comfortable about it because I know what a toilet flap does. It's like 150 gallons or 150 extra dollars. I mean, this is like kind of next level. I mean, it's just something to be aware of too. Like I understand rules and everything, but just as more and more people have softeners in the village and stuff, which is what I think it is. You know, this could happen. You know, and it's a kind of a surprise.
When was that cold snap?
January,
In that
like
same,
MLK.
yeah, during that same time frame.
Because I'm curious too, because I think sometimes people hear of other people being on a trickle notice, but that is something generated, that is initiated by the village to tell people to be on a trickle. And so I think some people are unclear, you know, whether or not they should trickle their water because it's cold. Well, no, there's no need to trickle your water unless somebody from the village tells you to trickle your water. And if that's based on the location of the infrastructure and
Or if you're leaving for a long period of time, then you
Correct.
call and let us know.
Right.
Mhm.
This is more than a trickle.
Oh, yeah.
how much does a trickle generate per day? I mean, I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot there, but
Yeah, I don't remember off the top of my head. There are numbers for it.
My billings usually, what this last time was like around 150 more using trickle.
That's kind of the average of our
Yeah.
reimbursements,
Alright.
is dollar amounts is 150 to 300 tops is usually where it is.
I just feel like if there was something corrected or there was something like a known cause and it's corrected, that would follow our policy.
That's why we're here
That's,
kind of.
yeah. There's just no known cause and that's the part that holds me up, Luke, and it's not personal, it's
I
just,
totally get that.
it's-
You know,
we need to make sure it's corrected, because who's to say that it's not happening right now? Or,
Mhm.
you know, it happens tomorrow and then are we back in the same boat? Well, there's a reason why the policy's there, is if there was some corrective action or what was broken is fixed. I mean, there's no
I-
excessive water in the backyard or anything, like from a spigot
No.
being on, or?
you know, there's no ice back there. I mean, I'm not looking around in the backyard in January, you know, but I think you'd have some washed out, because the faucet's right at the corner of the house, and it goes down kind of an incline, and it's real sandy there too, because sometimes we get sand that washes down the yard, and there's like no sand in the backyard, because that, you know, the outside is quite plausible. I just, you know, anytime you got like an electrical device with like a solenoid or a relay clicking, I mean, it's an outside chance it could intermittently fail. It's like people take their cars in to get them fixed, and sometimes they can't figure out the electrical problem because it's not acting up. I typically have never heard of that on a water softener, but it is electronically controlled. And
Well, then to have it correct itself too, on its own, that's the weird thing.
Mhm.
unless there is some, I don't know, I mean, obviously I don't know exactly how they work, but, you know, there's some debris in it maybe that caused something to get hung up, and
Did you make the tenants aware of this bill and things? So
yeah, they
maybe
were
they've
super
changed
surprised.
something?
What?
Is it possible that maybe they've changed something in their,
No, I asked them how often they did the laundry, and she said they were like 2 to 3 times a week. You know, but that's a lot of laundry, even if they were doing it every day, you know. The math is just, makes me scratch my head. I mean, I don't know. I could proactively replace the softener, I mean, that's the thing, I'm trying to cut my losses somehow, if it's even possible.
well, you could bypass it
Yeah,
for.
that's what I was gonna do if it was acting up, and when I first looked at it, I wanted to see if the digital meter was like ticking up because it reads in hundredths of a gallon. That thing would just start steady at point like 0.05, and I watched it for 5-10 minutes. There's no leak in the house, and
You'd notice,
that's when I got involved with the graph, because I was like, this doesn't seem like there's a leak here right now, and then we figured out it was, you know, late December, early January into February, which is odd.
You know, if I recall, just a toilet running or a faucet dripping, they said you would not believe. I know there was some information on it that was sent out by Visa at one time. And I mean, it just,
It adds
you
up.
can't believe how much that can add to a water bill. So if there was a leaking toilet and maybe that, they jiggled the handle, they realized it, or, yeah, there's something that's not right here,
Even
definitely.
even
I
a-
would have everything in my home checked.
even a half a gallon a minute times 60 minutes times 24 hours is 720 gallons a day.
That's why I think it's something with some power behind it. And the only thing I can think of in a home situation would be like the pump that cycles the water for the softener. And that would be the only thing that would leave no evidence, you know? And this is like putting some trust in the tenants, which I trust them as much as I can.
Did
And
the
they've been there a
electric,
long
did the
time.
electric bill change? If there was a pump running,
I
would
don't
that,
pay it, but
I'm just curious if that usage went up too, that matched the,
30,000 a day.
I haven't checked that, I guess.
I mean, just,
Yeah, I could be something.
Only 20,000 gallons in a day.
What was your question, Jim? You were trying to figure out how many gallons a day? This was 2,000 gallons a day, roughly?
No,
No.
More than, yeah,
you said 2,000 or
It-
20.
No, it's two though.
2,000 gallons a day.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's the,
That's a lot.
Well, it's hard to
how
read
the
that.
formula works on the,
When they break the graphs,
yeah,
the scale
they're in the
changes.
hundreds.
That's a
Really?
gallon, 1.38 gallons a minute,
I think so.
and that's almost an open faucet.
So like, on mine, shows like actual, I don't have to do any math to make the gallons work.
What are you using though?
So I'm looking at the Ion Water app.
Is that through our stuff or
Yep,
is that?
that is the one through the village. And so when I pull up even, like if I go back and look at like a previous week, I mean, it's, so like this day is 148 gallons and this is the 100 mark, okay? This day is 50 gallons, or 40, 55.9 or whatever. So looking at this chart, I'm just trying to figure out if there's multiplication needed.
It depends on the day that you're looking at, but the one we were clicked on was about 6,000 gallons for when it's the day it started.
Okay.
The day it ended, halfway through the day, it was about 1,969 gallons.
Okay. So even if it was 2,000 gallons in a 24-hour period, that's what, 83 or so gallons an hour? That's a lot of water going out. Oh, am I right on it?
So a leaking toilet can waste between 30 and 4,000 gallons of water a day.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I have water softeners. I don't subscribe to the water softener idea because the water softener has to cycle and fill up the tank, unless it stayed cycling and filling up the tank, in which case you'd be burning a lot of water.
And
'Cause
salt.
that's basically an open.
And salt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just an open spigot. You'd be going through more than 2,000 gallons a day with that. So it's very likely something else. And you still need to try to look and, I think you still need to try to look and find out what it is.
Whatever it is, it's not doing it anymore.
Yeah.
And that's where I find a hard time agreeing to something here with it not being shown that something has been fixed or repaired. It's just, yeah.
Maybe you have a plumber come in and go through the house, try to figure it out.
Well, you can do a toilet leak test. You can do that just with dye. You know,
And
food coloring.
it's got a new toilet in it. They did the dye, she talked about doing the dye thing in it. They changed out the flap the year before. I can't imagine it would be, it was $150 a month, how somehow it got to be 10 times worse. I mean, there's only 2 toilets in the house. I mean, it's like I can see all the plumbing in one spot. It's like, there it goes. And I get it, it's like, yeah, you wanna see something, but that's why I just, the consideration, I'm probably gonna have to replace the softener either way, but if the sewer got halved, it's trying to definitely cover it, because otherwise I got a ton of money sucked into this whole open-ended situation, and to me, I wonder about the equipment. I guess, I mean, I know, Aaron, you checked with the company, and I don't know, it's just odd.
So my opinion here on this is that, I mean, I'd be okay following the policy, but in lieu of actually knowing what it was, having a report from a professional that went through the plumbing in your house and and was made aware of this and could go through everything and make sure that it's not going to happen again, or could potentially find out, could look at it and say, yeah, well, that needs to be replaced. That's very likely where your leak was, and now it's not leaking. But I think that's the only way that I can look at this and say we might meet with the spirit of the way the ordinance is written, or the policy is written, is that because you can't actually determine the cause, but if you could potentially have a professional go through and go through the house, go through all the plumbing and look to see, maybe they'll see something, maybe they won't, but if you don't do that, then you can't alleviate the concern that this could happen 2 months from now, right? So, because you don't know what caused it, you don't know if it's going to happen again, and you don't know that it's not going to happen again. So, in that situation, you have to have somebody that knows more come in and say, okay, I don't see anything. That shouldn't happen again. That would be, and I understand there's a cost associated with that, but it's nowhere near the cost of we're not talking about an equal, you'd be, according to the policy, you'd be getting a fairly large credit, but in lieu, and this is my opinion, so anybody else can chime in lieu of actually having the cause, have a professional come through and say, there is no cause, or this was the cause. And have to submit that to the village before. That would be my only compromise that I could think of, unless somebody else has another idea. Or you just don't want to move forward, I don't know.
Is there a time limit? So like, let's say he's able to get somebody to go through and do what Jim is suggesting, and this was 6 months from now, and they do determine a cause, or they figure this out. This in the policy doesn't say it had to happen within the last 2 months. It goes back to the quarter that the leak happened. So there's no expiration on that.
Within the year.
Within a year, I mean, I think that's reasonable.
For
but
audit purposes, it just would be cleaner.
Understandable.
But you'd almost want to do that just to make sure that it's not going to happen again.
Yeah. I'd be
You
worried
guys
it was
almost
gonna
got to
happen.
be acting up too, because if it's like, we're going through 100, 200 gallons of water a day, because I think the average is around 140. And the plumber goes in there to look and it's not acting up. If I went over there and it was like I check the app every day, and I'd like to see it spike to 1,000 gallons of water, because then I could go peek in the basement and listen, and where's that water going, and
Yeah, I mean, this same thing happened to me 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Before I was on the board, and turned out that I was burning through about 1,500 gallons a day. And it was my toilet in my basement that at the time nobody really used the basement. I have an extra bathroom. And I happened to call up my brother-in-law, who was a contractor, a general contractor, and he said, well, what brand is the toilet? I said, this. And he said, yeah, they do that all the time. He said, rip out the guts on the inside. He said, buy a kit, redo it. He said, even if it's not leaking now, just go ahead and replace it. And that's what you get when you're dealing with a professional, is they've seen a lot of things that we just don't see on a daily basis. So they know what to look for, or they've seen it before. Maybe it provides insight, maybe it doesn't. But without a cause, and I understand you could have just came in and said, yeah, I found it. And I appreciate the honesty. But without a cause, it doesn't meet the standard. But I think like I said, I think that compromise would meet the spirit of the policy.
Do we need to do an actual motion to make this legit, that we would like to see some kind of,
Report from the plumber.
right, before we would make a decision on this, or do we just have him come back if he finds something?
You probably need a motion to deny the request at this time. so you can
Okay.
resubmit it just in case, because there is, you know, if it is a potential statutory notice of claim requirement under the statutes, we disallowing that claim. This doesn't really fall under that, but just to be safe, you'd probably just want to have a motion just to deny the request at this time.
Okay.
So I have a question just for future, if there's a future issue, is there anything that like alerts anyone if there's excessive usage, other than if they have to monitor their own water, like the water app? Is there, like, in my work life, I think about when I'm watching, monitoring things, I get alerts if something is out of whack.
We're looking into the software right now, just trying to see if there's things that we can set up so that it.
There are alerts, most of them have come back negative, so
Right.
it does get alerts, but
I'm just thinking for
It's-
future, just
Yeah.
this. you
But
know.
along with that, the app itself has a leak detection, alert, so like it checks for leaks, no leaks detected, and you can set how tight that is.
So that would be, the household would need to get the app, have the app going.
Or
set the
whoever
alerts.
has that account, yeah.
Okay.
And you could have, I believe, multiple accounts.
I didn't know if the village kept, like, had an eye on if there was excessive usage happening somewhere. Even if it was a village facility that was leaking somewhere and you didn't know about it, just.
We run into this with people's basement, remember that, well, I'm trying to think which house that was,
Yeah,
with the
on
basement.
Lake Street, yeah.
Yeah,
This sounds like a really good village.
on
poster.
Lakeview Drive or whatever, that was like, for the whole basement filled up.
Here's what the app will do for you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then I would need a motion to accept or deny.
I'll make a motion to deny the request at this time until further investigation, whether we can come back within a reasonable time frame.
I'll second.
Roll call, Jim?
Aye.
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 Motion carried. C, discussion and possible action on requests for reimbursement for Loretta Real Belial's burial.
So we had an issue, basically with a burial for a family. We had a burial, they have a mix of 12 plots right in a row. The problem most likely stemmed from basically when we did our transfer from the Excel spreadsheet we had back in 2021 to this new software. What happened was the spreadsheet had people's first and last names, as those are people who are buried. They had last names in parentheses of people who were owners of a lot. So if you had a lot, you had a bunch of them in a row, all the same. And then there was ones with parentheses that people assigned to different family members that had their full name. So what happened was when the software did the transfer in, anyone who had assigned spots were considered dead. So they already had this listed as a full burial. So basically they had 12 plots. The two at the end were where there was actually only one person buried and the other spot was for the spouse, had it just listed it as they were no longer there. So when the funeral home called one of our personnel, my guess was that they requested one of the spots. They chose the closest spot to the road because we just had that record snowfall, so they were trying to get it as close as possible. And then the family showed up and they had the empty spot next to the one person who was buried who already had a monument because that was their spouse. And so then the family had to come back the next day. We had called in an emergency dig for the next day and they came out and did that for the family. So the village was charged a little more. I think it was an extra $500 for that second burial. The family requested some type of discount or reimbursement or whatever. I authorized a $50 cause that's all I said I could. I really don't have the authority to grant them a full refund, so I said I can bring it to the board if they would like. The $50 was for the marking fee, but the other $800 that the family paid came in to the village. They have about $800 they spent with us. We have a bill, obviously, for about, I think it's around 12 for the whole thing, but that was,
Okay, we just did a check for 2,000 for 2 burials.
I'm pulling that voucher right now.
And what it amounted to was a winter burial is $800. So that would mean they charged us an extra $400, correct?
no, it was
If
500.
you paid 2,000,
So, hang on, so
There's multiple burials in there.
there's 2 burials on here, Jeannie.
2
There's-
burials.
So there's one on
Correct.
here, there was one for $750, and then there's another charge for Loretta, $750, and then plus an additional $500.
Right.
Why is it
So-
only $750 for one? If a winter burial is $800,
That's what we charge. That's what
okay,
they charge us.
okay.
That's what Tony's charges us.
So then why aren't we,
We charge the family our
Okay.
rate, which is,
Okay.
we get $100 off of that, or whatever it is, $50 more.
okay,
And so the family is paid our amount, but we also had to pay for that second burial, which we didn't charge them for, obviously. So they're out 800 right now.
well, I'll give you a little scenario on it, only because I know, because I
Right.
live right by the cemetery. Tom Reel went up and shoveled the whole path, probably as wide as the table, all the way up to the headstone where she was supposed to be buried. So they definitely could have gone up there and put her where she belonged, next to her husband.
They didn't know about
But,
it. The software issue is kind of what I'm getting at.
right, so you're saying she was already buried.
That's,
So
according
then
to
you
our
just-
software, there was someone in that lot.
Therefore, you picked a plot without notifying the family or the funeral home of where they wanted that person buried, when you already said she was already buried. So it's very confusing. So it was shocking to the family because they brought up the casket, the tomb was up there, the vault was up there for the Tuesday burial, and they all had to, the body had to go back to the funeral home. The vault stayed there overnight, and then they redug that on a Wednesday. I spoke to Logan at the funeral home, and he said all they would ask for is $400 reimbursement for the pain, the suffering, the this, the that this family went through, because we as a village did not contact them to say, okay, you have 12 plots, so we just pick a plot? We don't care where the family wanted that body buried?
So here's the thing, I'm not gonna get into details on this portion, because
Okay,
the person who was here is out on leave. I don't have an access to her, and I'm not necessarily going to blame that, because I don't know what Logan might have said to her on where the plots are. I know that at one point, I mean, obviously, if they didn't have the lot they had, we probably would have had to cancel it, because of the fact theirs was so close, and because of the snow at the time. I'm just
there was
saying,
no snow, it was shoveled.
but you gotta understand, when the call came in, it was
Yes.
during that time. So when we're looking out there and looking at, we haven't even plowed out that cemetery yet. And the next week was when the burials are coming. Granted, everything by the time that happened melted down, but I don't know for sure that it was a staff member that made that error, or if it was them communicating together with Logan, not the family, obviously, but her communicating with Logan. I don't know those details because I wasn't on that phone call, and I can't ask that person either. So do I think the family is at fault? Absolutely not. Do I think we're at fault, somewhat responsible? Yeah. But I think a lot of that has to do, with our software, and more on trying to, I don't know the communication, that's what I'm getting at.
So let's talk about the software for a second,
Right.
because you're, if I'm understanding this, it's saying entire family bought 12 plots, right? And some of them they assign potentially to future passings, and
Right.
some are existing passings. So some are occupied, some are not, but they're assigned. And then there's some potentially that are just available for whomever, whenever, right? So I know we need to solve this situation, but has someone gone through it now and compared historical spreadsheet to this? to
Yeah, I found
somehow-
a bunch of people who are, I'm pretty sure, still alive that are listed as dead and buried. So,
Because I just want to make sure
Right.
that we don't run into this again. I mean,
Oh,
it's already an issue.
right, so basically, at some point, when we have staffing levels back to normal, the idea is to have that person go through and fix all of these. I'm doing all of the cemetery sales as of right now, so I know that issue, so that's why I can handle it for now, but I don't have the time to go through all 1,000 of them.
I just want to make
Right.
sure that we have a plan for
We do have a plan.
rectifying it for the future.
Right.
Well, and generally, like when I had to bury someone, generally I work with the funeral home. I didn't work directly with the Catholic Church to pick out,
Right.
right? The plots were there, and the funeral home worked through that. So who knows what happened on that phone call?
Right.
Yeah,
That's all I was getting at. I was just saying.
Yeah.
I don't know the details of it.
Generally, if family doesn't, they can contact the municipality, that's fine, but a lot of times as a courtesy, the funeral home does it as well.
Yeah.
At least that's been my experience.
And looking at it online, I did see people that were alive that were buried,
Mhm.
according to that. So I guess we really have to correct this software.
Yeah.
I
No,
mean, holy man,
I don't disagree.
this is shocking, that it's never happened in 5 years. We've been lucky. So, I don't know.
What are they actually asking for? It says request a refund of the burial costs and associated fees paid to the village. What the amount? is the-
Logan basically said, the funeral director, when I talked to him, because I wanted my own information,
Mhm.
that's what I do. And he said they'd be happy with 400 or any amount that the board decided on. If you wanna give them 200, they'd be happy with 200. They just felt because of this and what they had to go through. And the family took off from work, it was a Tuesday. She was supposed to be buried on a Saturday, but they couldn't dig the grave. So they said, okay, by Tuesday they would be able to, the grave digger said. So they all took off from work. I understand. It had to put them in a position. And it put the funeral home in a position of taking the body back and forth. The pastor was up there. I mean, I'm just giving you what Logan said to me. So it is entirely up to the board. You can deny the whole works or give them the 200 or give them the 400 or whatever the board would decide, because it's a board decision. It's not like Nathan said, it's not the village's decision. So I guess, what does the rest of the board feel,
What was the family?
If it was one of us, how would we feel?
They were charged 800, right?
Mhm.
And they were charged
They
800?
were charged $850. 50 of it was returned already through the marking fee, and that was, so they're out 800 in total right now for the burial.
I don't think 400 is unreasonable.
I would agree.
I mean,
As
that's,
long as it's fixed.
right.
As long as the issue is fixed, because that is a surprise nobody wants to find out.
I guess that's where, when I worked here, we had a paper copy and we didn't have this, so it was easier. I know that everything is all about being online and having spreadsheets, but you know what? Sometimes that doesn't work,
This
so-
is an actual program, though. It's not a spread. I mean, it was fed from a spreadsheet.
It was fed from a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
You still have the spreadsheet, I'm assuming,
We
you
keep
kind
going.
of work your way backwards.
That's why I said it.
So that's how I found this, is I started looking back and I started comparing areas of people that are alive that are listed as dead.
So everything's fixable, some things just take a little longer than others, right? Everything's fixable.
Mhm.
So we know going forward, I can't imagine you're gonna stumble, and I can't imagine you'd even want this to happen. So I have all the faith in the world that
No,
this is gonna be
it
correct.
was-
There's
My
horrifying.
staff said it was the angriest they've seen me since I've been hired.
Well, there you
So,
go.
And it wasn't any staff member, I wanna say that, it was more the
Angry at the
situation, I felt
situation.
bad for the family, I felt, yeah. I mean, it's hard enough to try to work with these people at their worst time, and then also compounding it.
So
Doesn't work.
I guess I have the question is, so we're talking 400, I mean, because of the inconvenience and all that, I mean, is 400 enough?
It's up to you guys to decide it.
I don't know where you guys feel on this, but I just feel like I can't put myself in those shoes, but if I was in those shoes.
That's why I said, I mean, 400 I don't feel is out of the question. I mean, it could be more, it doesn't,
I mean, they're not asking for the world.
Right.
They're asking for maybe half to split with the village. And they're not being sassy about it or spreading it
No,
around
this
that
is
the
a local
village
family.
is nasty or that we are horrible people because we made a mistake. That's not what they're doing. I think they just want some compensation to maybe make them feel better. I don't know, I wish one of the family was here, but, it's entirely up to the board how anyone feels, so.
I mean, when you said you talked to Logan, but in here, it just, it just says a refund of the burial cost, so that makes me think they want the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Even though you said Logan's at 400, I just wanna make sure.
That is what Logan said to me.
Yeah, I just see
So
refund, that's why
Right.
I'm asking that.
He said, I don't want to be unreasonable, but I think they would be okay with splitting the cost. He said, and they're not asking for the world. They're not asking for, $2,000 or $5,000 or whatever.
Right.
I mean,
I'm just
So-
going back to what he wrote.
yeah.
And he says a refund of the burial, so that's where I'm going right for the 800, because he's putting it in the letter that he said a refund of the charges. And I just don't want it to say, here's $400, and it's a horrible situation. And I just,
And I mean, the family's not taking this money. What Logan said to
I
me is they would
understand that.
subtract it from the cost of the funeral.
right,
So the funeral hasn't been finalized yet.
right,
So it's not like they're gonna take this money and say, here's 25 for you and 25
Right.
for you. It would just be the cost of the funeral that they would just subtract it.
honestly,
Yeah.
I really wouldn't care what they would do with it, because I think they are owed something for it, because it's a horrible thing that happened. But I'm just looking at what he wrote. To me, that's asking for a full refund, and that's where I would sit, is that it would be the 800 or
Well,
the
that's why
750.
I had to call, because I thought, well, they're not really giving us a dollar amount on this.
Right.
And I feel like the funeral home must have wrote this on their behalf.
Yes.
So I guess, and I didn't talk to any of the family, so I really don't know what they wanted or didn't want. So
They
I
did-
just called Logan. I thought that was the best place to
Are
start
you
since
making
he
that
wrote the
motion?
letter.
Prior to making any motion, I would note that the village is going to expend any funds on this claim. We would need a release signed by the party that you do give the funds to, that there be no further potential legal action or anything against the village.
That would be the funeral home.
It would have to be the family,
Oh, really?
They're the ones that
Oh.
purchased the
They're the ones
okay.
that would potentially have the claim
Yeah,
against the
okay.
village, so if there is any potential reimbursement, we probably want to have a release of claims too, so you don't have a situation where you reimburse the money and then they turn around and now if they've got something, they sue you for more.
So then who would this money go to? Would it go to the funeral home if they signed a release, or would it go to the family?
The family has to sign their release, right?
You could, they could agree in the release to distribute to the funeral home as a deduction of their funeral costs. It would just have to be spelled out in some sort of agreement probably between the village, the funeral home, and then the family, whoever the representative is. They're gonna, of course, the representative, there's a trustee or whoever's on the will, is the executor of the estate.
So do we have to put this aside for now, or can we make a motion with that?
The village can make a motion with that in mind, that we would have to get, it would be a refund contingent on the signature releases from all the parties involved.
Okay.
And can we say per verbal communication with Logan, the funeral director, for $400? Can we put that in there then too?
Well, he said he said 400 would be nice, but he said the board can do whatever they want. He
But
said if
his
they wanna give
suggestion-
100, if they wanna give 200, if they wanna give nothing, he said that is entirely up to your board, I understand that. So, I mean, do we need to put that in there, that it was per his verbal, because it was only to me?
Right, and his
I
verbal is
wouldn't-
different
I
than what he wrote
wouldn't
in the
do
letter.
that.
Right,
I would not do that.
no,
I think that puts him in a spot that is unnecessary.
right,
I would strictly keep it to the dollar amount that we're willing to pay with a contingency on the
the family
release
signing a
of,
release.
yes.
And I'm leaning on more than the 400, to be honest with you. I just, when I read this, I see burial costs. And it does say is appropriate to help alleviate the financial impact, but I just feel burial cost is burial cost. That's my opinion.
Where would the funds come from? Where would they
Yeah,
be?
where would
The
$800
800 or
or
400,
whatever?
whatever, where would they?
I mean, it's not budgeted for. The funds would probably have, I mean, it comes from the village's account. I mean, we have an account for payouts.
So
I
the
think it's a-
cemetery doesn't have a separate line budget that this would go into when a
Well-
funeral is paid for?
I mean, we have a revenue, right, from them, and we have an expenditure. The expenditure line's gonna far exceed it anyway.
Yeah, it's not like you have a bad debt account for
Right.
for a cemetery, so it's
So,
not like
I mean,
you,
it's something we're just
there's
gonna
no
have to,
write-off account for it.
we'll have to deal with. I mean, we have sales every year. I mean, at the end of the year, whatever the balance is, ends up going into our investment fund for that funeral, or for the cemetery. So, no matter how many sales we have this year, whatever we have compared to our expenses, that goes into that fund. So that, if it ends up being a negative, we pull from the fund.
Do you have a dollar amount you're thinking?
I was thinking 800.
800?
And that's just because that's what they paid. And I feel like
Yep.
that's, like,
I
we're
agree.
so sorry. Here's our, I
Yeah.
mean,
Well, I agree.
And I think you're right, keep Logan out of it, keep that 400 is irrelevant to me. It's what he's asking for is full burial in the letter, and I think we stick with that 800.
burial costs.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to approve the burial, the $800 burial expenses for Loretta Belisle burial, contingent upon signed release from all parties.
A second.
Roll call, Jim?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. D, discussion and possible action on CSM to combine parcel 2400-21723 and 2400-21717.
This was recommended for approval by the Planning and Zoning Committee. They met last week. It's taking two parcels owned by the same company that we used to have a road that went through. That's kind of why you can see that there was those two utility easements. We are currently working with legal to have those removed as well. The Planning and Zoning Committee did recommend that we look at potentially still creating another utility easement outside of the scope of their project, so that if the future, if they wanted, if the village wanted to loop our system, we could. Currently, we have our water and sewer ends in both of the cul-de-sacs as of right now, but that was the only suggestion that I remember from that meeting.
It was me, that was,
Yeah.
it just asked if we could get a utility easement on the north side, or somewhere on the north, because they've got an expansion that they're doing, so that we don't lose the ability to loop any utility, especially like that kind of thing. That was my question on there. I actually do have a question that I thought of after the planning and zoning. So this is for combining these parcels, and I understand that that's what's on the agenda, but then I see that there is a building permit later on in the packet for their expansion. Will that go to planning and zoning as well?
No,
No?
we don't have that as part of our recommendation
It's not our
anymore.
purview, no?
The only reason they used to was because of the covenants. In the covenants, it used to say that I'd go to planning and zoning for approval.
Okay. And that's where I was thinking about it, because I was thinking about the utility and trying to figure out how that utility goes in there. So can we approve this contingent on the fact that we're gonna be looking at doing like a utility easement or exploring it, or?
I
don't wanna
mentioned
forget
it to
about
them. I had Paul mention it to him. He was meeting with them, on Wednesday. I couldn't because of other activities going on. But he didn't really, I haven't really had a chance to talk to him yet about it, but
Do we wanna wait on this until we know
That's
that?
what I was just thinking.
I mean,
Do we wait?
you can combine it and this does not remove those two utility easements. I still have to get our attorney to draw up.
But doesn't their expansion go right up to it, right? That's why I was kinda curious where that expansion's going.
Right, I mean, yes, the expansion does go up to it, you can still have it, the utilities, I mean, it's not advisable. They're building into it, I don't think they're gonna have a problem with us
Moving that.
moving it in
Yeah.
the future.
I was trying to think of the timeline of how this works, is what I was trying to figure out. Like, are we better off waiting to do this until we get the utility easement figured out? Or do we approve this, but then how do we make sure that we revisit that utility easement?
So I can ask for a legal perspective, so certified survey maps are under, for instance, they call a shot clock. You have 90 days from the submission of a
Okay.
CSM to approve it, initially approve it or reject it, otherwise it's automatically approved. So you don't really wanna table these too much unless
Okay.
you're well within your time limit. For putting it, condition of an easement approval, that's kind of outside the scope of a CSM. You really need that to be in some sort of development agreement or some other way you have that. CSMs just solely look at, does it meet the boundary requirements, does it have, the correct, size and everything in that regard.
So then along with that, if their expansion, and I haven't seen the plan, so I don't know and it's going to go into that, or up to that utility easement, I guess. I'd feel a little differently if I knew where that, like, okay, so there's a utility easement, and let's say the village wants to come through and loop that storm sewer. And this building is built inches from this easement, or just a little bit on the easement, so now what do we do, type of thing.
Well, so the utilities easement is already existing, so those exist, so those don't go away by the certified survey map, so they couldn't expand and infringe on the easement. So at that point, they would have to come to the village and say, we need you to potentially move your easement or
Okay.
vacate your easement at that point. At that point, you could potentially negotiate a different easement or somewhere else within it.
And in the past, didn't we usually look at those? We looked at like an expansion. We would look at that, but that changed,
Mhm.
right, in the covenant, no. Maybe
The removal of the covenants, yeah.
Yeah. That's where I think I'm hung up right now, but
Would we potentially ever need this easement though? Is there a reason that we would need the easement?
I think of like sometimes when they wanna loop a system together. I think about Jim's neighborhood, when they wanted to loop something together. Like how they, like I'm trying to think of like storm sewer, and it was like the infrastructure underground. They wanted to loop something together, so then they used that easement that they had, and that was where this whole started with the road and everything else. It was a looping thing.
Mhm.
It's to prevent stagnant water, if I remember right.
Yep.
Because at these ends, when you end that, apparently it can create stagnant water.
We would need one easement potentially in the future.
And I know I'm kind of going off base here, but
Yeah,
it kind of
right.
does have to do with this, but.
But if they build onto it and infringed on our easement, they're gonna work with us to move an easement in the future.
Or they
Correct.
gotta- or they gotta tear the building down.
Otherwise.
That's what I'm saying.
It's like a non-issue right now, because approving this doesn't get rid of the easement, so they're still bound by the village's easement that we have access to that no matter what. So the only, yeah.
But
What's that?
Nathan said something to the effect that we're looking at having it moved. Who's working on that?
Well, no one, well, Ashley was.
Okay.
And so that's been kind of stalled. I haven't
Okay.
sent it over to Tyler yet to try to have
Okay.
him work on it. partially because I need to see the mapping too, to see where it is, and I gotta figure out what's the best place for us to
Okay.
do that.
Gotcha. The planning and zoning approved or recommended that this be combined. That wasn't the problem. It's just after the meeting and after looking at some things, that's where I came up with these questions.
So then is the building inspector keeping an eye on that they don't infringe on that easement?
No,
No?
we're talking with them to potentially move it.
Okay,
Right.
okay.
They're trying to build right now.
Yeah, until it's moved, they can't, without potentially having to tear up the building, rip up the foundation. With easements, we can go through there if they needed to, so it's in their best interest to do it. I'll make a motion to approve, CSM to combine the parcel 2400211723 and 2400211717.
I'll second that.
Roll call, Jim?
Aye.
Hi.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. E, discussion and possible action on Xerox copier purchase.
Let me just hold it up, sorry. So, this copier, basically, we have a current contract with this company, for the current copier we have in the admin office. Works great. It's after 5 years, basically, is when they tell us usually that there's a problem. We haven't had a problem with it yet. It's our old one that we always, the way the village cycles our stuff is the village admin office gets a new copier. We send the old one down to PD for 5 more years of use. Our old one that was in the PD is now having issues with scanning, I believe. So the village looked at getting a new Xerox copier to replace ours, to pass that one down to them for another 5 years.
Do we own or are we?
Yeah,
own
we-
it? We own, we're not paying per,
No.
Okay.
So we purchased, so when we looked at it the last time, the purchase price to the lease price, you basically pay the lease to pay it off, and then after 5 years, it would have been paid off anyway. So we decided to purchase it because then we don't have to do the same thing down at the PD, where you would have a PD and a copier and us as well. So this way we were able to slide it down to them, and that's kind of why we do it that way in the past.
So then is the 5-year agreement term, the $581.10, is that included in the,
No, I don't,
Price?
I
Or is
really
that-
don't think we should agree to that as a board. Their numbers are not right on how much we wanna pay for per month, or per quarter. So I wanna update those before we sign anything for the 5 year, because it's not even going for you now. Basically, the amounts for color are off by a good amount. I think it's by like an extra, so it's quarterly, so I think it was off by an extra like 3,000 or 4,000 that they were adding in there. And black and white is off too, compared to what our current usage is. So the goal of it is not to over commit in your monthly amount, so that you're not overpaying for things you're not actually using. But you wanna keep it right under that amount so that you get the prepaid price rather than the final price when the reimbursement comes at the end of the month. So,
So at this point, are we approving the purchase and not the maintenance agreement?
correct, that's what I would suggest.
so if we're purchasing it outright, why are we paying the maintenance?
They deal with basically the whole, they come out for maintenance, they do the toner replacements, everything else, so.
Okay.
but do
By
you get
general
penalized if you go over the amount? Is that what you're saying, like in the agreement?
Yeah, it's a different rate.
The per page,
Yeah.
the per page.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so, we usually alter that every single time we get someone to give us a contract, cause we go through our past few years, usually 2 years, cause we don't wanna go too far back, because there's usually different personnel that have different printing, tendencies, so we usually like to kind of keep an eye on that, so that, I mean, we've been down since we switched to this company, in comparison to where we were at when we were with I think it's MSB, I can't remember the name, it was.
MBM.
MBM, yeah.
Home business.
Sorry. Yeah,
So you're just looking for approval on the actual machine?
on the actual machine.
Okay. So we would need a motion for that.
And that's the 8715.
Yep.
43. I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of a Xerox copier not to exceed the amount of $8,715.42.
I'll second.
Roll call, Jim?
Aye.
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 Motion carried. F, discussion and possible action on acceptance of Vibrant Spaces grant for Memorial Square.
So, we applied for this last year, and this is the contract. It's basically a standardized contract that the Development Corporation gives to all municipalities or all people who are working with them. There was a few changes that we were able to get that I sent to Ashley, and then there was a bunch that they didn't. So, basically, this is the best we're gonna get for the contract. No. It's $50,000 grant, basically for Memorial Square. The village's, match amount is already gonna go past what we are required to do, for that reconstruction project. So, this is just additional funds.
What else did you want to change? That they said no?
Typically at location, county, basically whether or not it's in Dane County or Allegheny County, they won't change that. The state's not gonna change their rules on those. And what Ashley has always said to me, and Tyler could probably speak to this too, is typically these, the state agencies, they have their standardized contract, and they don't really alter it much, so.
But what were the things that you tried to alter that they said no to? Like, just any of them?
That they said no to, or?
Yeah.
One was the location, the other was, some type of, reimbursement payment for failure to construct, that basically.
If we didn't do it, we'd have to pay it back.
We have to pay it back and with an interest, for so many days, and, basically that was my memory of it. I'm sorry, that was, I don't have all the details, from that response. That was a while ago. I sent that to her. I could get that to you if you want.
No, I think
You guys
that's
are
just what
interested.
Jim was asking, what was the things that they
Right.
wouldn't change that we tried to change?
And this has to be done this year. Is that what they're saying in here?
I believe that's the timeline I gave them,
Yeah,
that it's gonna be done this year.
okay.
Yeah. So,
Any other questions? Otherwise, we need a motion to accept.
Is there a specific, just, I'm trying to find like the specific dollar amount you want in that motion.
it's just accepting the contract, the grant contract
The
as.
grant, okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'll make a motion to accept the contract grant between, the Village of Hortonville and the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation.
I'll second.
Roll call, Jim?
Aye.
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 Motion carried. G, discussion and possible action on R-7-26, amending personnel manual on public works clothing allowance.
So, I guess I wanted to put this in there now before, we did just change our policy before to just do a payout. This is another option that kinda we thought of, that would kinda make it where we use our current contract with Fox Cities Embroidery, we use for embroidered clothing here. we talked to them a little bit about if they could do uniform type things for for our public works. So the idea would be to basically allow them to have about a $300 stipend for embroidered clothes with their name on it. They're all high-vis clothes for the employees down there, and then they would get a $200 for a boot allowance, and then $200 for a check that's kind of how we would do the normal proposed that we have right now, where we send a check to them through payroll of $200. I think the idea was safety recognition. We have a good amount of contractors coming into the village over the next few years, and our guys would then have a distinct uniform for residents to see. It also would probably prevent some of the calls that we get sometimes of people complaining about what our contractors are doing and it's not our guys. I'm thinking it is.
They have the village logo too.
Yeah.
So they would wear these every day to work.
They would have a uniform required every day.
So this would replace the lump sum that they get
Correct.
and would break it out to these categories. Okay.
Yeah, the breakout more for the shoes too is just to verify that they do have their safety shoes and they're getting them at a consistent basis.
Do we make sure they're wearing safety shoes?
Yes.
Talk to them about it.
Yep.
Protect the village?
Yep.
Okay.
As somebody who had two contractors in my front yard yesterday talking about gas lines, you know, and it was nice to be able to see who was We Energies and who was the other contractor, and it was nice to know that. I love this idea.
And it's just suggested they go to down here, it's not a requirement.
Well, it kind of is, because they have to have a uniform. Basically, they would have to have high-vis that has the village logo and their name. That would be the requirement. They don't. There's nothing in the resolution that says they have to go there.
Yeah.
The village has the kind of the. If we wanted to change the location, you wouldn't have to change the policy.
Are you suggesting maybe, Jim, like a village, like?
No, I'm just wondering if we can legally require them to go to a specific business to buy the clothes.
Well, they'd have to get a hold of, they'd have to get the file of the logo and stuff where they go,
Right.
which they can do,
Yeah.
right? Or do we wanna put
Then
something
they'd probably have
specific?
to
No,
pay a
I-
setup fee on top of it, so
No,
that would go away from the cost of what they could get, because almost every time that you do that, you have to pay a setup fee.
Oh, yeah,
Right
no,
now, it's
I
already
know.
done.
I know, I'm just saying that we didn't, you know, I don't, is it legal for us to require employees to go to a specific business to buy the clothes?
If we're
We're requiring you to have a
giving it to them,
uniform.
I
I mean-
would say, we're giving them money for this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
husband's employer, he has to order it through his employer.
but, yeah, I understand, but we're changing this so that now we're just giving them the money instead of a credit, and now we're saying,
No, we're
here's
not.
the.
No.
No, the amount is a credit. The 300 is
Oh,
a
okay,
credit.
okay, all
The
right.
200, that's not for shoes,
Yeah.
because the shoes are a reimbursement.
Okay,
But they would get 200 that would be sent to them probably for like pants and,
Shorts,
Okay.
Whatever,
Okay.
yeah.
all right.
And then 300 for the shirt, high-vis, name, logo.
let's say they want a hat, a high-vis hat, or they want something different, they could use that additional 200. The only thing is just fix the spelling of his
yeah.
to VIS.
Sorry about that.
But, yeah. I think we're overdue. I think having that logo and having that name, I think would be great.
Mhm.
It does help too when people are coming in your house to change out a cross-connection inspection and
Mhm.
meter,
Yeah,
that
they know
we
it's-
have an employee that has a name and a logoed shirt that
Mhm.
looks like they belong to the village.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve R-07-26.
I'll second.
Roll call, Jim?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. H, discussion and possible action on Arizon quote.
So this is a quote for the Arizon GM 25S blower for the plant. It's one of those things that is kind of specific to our plant. It was built with the Arizon GM 25S blowers, so I can't really get multiple quotes from different people because basically the housing for the motor, all the connections for the motor, electrical conduits are all set up for this type of motor.
Any questions?
Is this reasonably priced compared to what there, if there wasn't an alternative?
I would, yeah, I think so. It's reasonably priced from when we bought the last one from Arizona in 2024.
Is this something that you have in the budget, like what? for
We do have a
replacing?
line item for that.
Okay.
And this is sewer, this isn't water,
No,
this is sewer.
If there are no questions, we would need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the blower motor with Airzon in the amount of $16,372.41.
I'll second.
Roll call, Jim?
Aye.
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 Motion carried. I, discussion and possible action on purchasing policy.
So this was kind of based off a discussion we had last meeting on the state's, changes of the state law. So basically it just put in that the village board has approval of any purchase over 5,000. And then all construction projects will follow chapter 6215 of the outline state statutes, and basically the other line says department heads may, with approval of the village board, purchase items not budgeted for, provided that the object level of the approved budget will not be exceeded by the end of the year, fiscal year.
You just gotta correct the spelling in that, items.
Yeah.
On the second bullet point, the last word in the first line.
ITMES. I'll make a motion to approve the department head purchasing policy as presented, with the exception of the change, the spelling error.
I'll second that.
Roll call, Jim?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. 10, report of village officials. A, clerk treasurer. Jane's report is in the packet. B, director of public works. Aaron?
My report is in the packet. One other thing I wanted to look at would be, I have it on here as April 30th, but that actually is not going to work. Setting up a new public works committee meeting for May 21st at 5 p.m. That works for public works. If we can't decide on that right now, I can set up an email chain and try to find something.
There'll be new people.
Yeah. That's why
So-
I pushed it back.
Did you wanna email, do you have their email?
I don't yet, but I can.
Okay, I mean, if you wanted to wait until next board meeting, or do you wanna email them now to see if a date works?
I can do that.
Because the public works would be Jim, Therese, Dalton, and Julie.
Okay. We'll do that and then we can get it set.
And then that way we can, I'll get on board.
Sounds good?
Alright, so I have a question, I made my notes here.
Yeah.
We did a water flow study for the water that was backing up over by the fire
Industrial park?
department. Yeah, did that
So-
conclude anything?
Well, I just got the original, or the preliminary maps from the modeling that they did.
Okay.
So they haven't given us any kind of recommendations yet with that.
Okay.
But once that does, I'll bring that to the board.
Okay.
Any questions for Aaron? Okay, we will then move to C, Police Chief Brian.
Reports in the packet, since the packet was done just the last few days, working with some of our neighboring communities and trying to provide resources to them. And if you're following social media or ours today, you see that we've got an influx of traffic as a result of some of these detours around. This afternoon, County Road M did get shut down. I don't know, the highway department didn't give us an anticipated reopen time. Things are kind of set to crest, I think, over the weekend here. So thinking probably early to mid next week back kind of about this level where we're at now. Just working with them, I will say, I added some shifts for patrol today, tomorrow, Monday, Tuesday, to deal with some of the traffic issues that we've been seeing. Really kind of assess that tomorrow now that M is shut down, because I'm thinking now that that is shut down, less folks are probably going to travel through Hortonville to hop on double M and take that detour, but we'll just kind of have to assess that day by day. Nathan and I did get around the last couple of days checking properties, kind of the dam situation, and I would say we're in really good shape as far as our water levels and kind of how everything, the systems responded to the amount of precipitation we had, so that's very good news.
I think just to add to that too, I did talk to the state dam inspector for our area from the DNR today and kind of went through kind of the checklist of things that we went over, and our dam, the emergency spillway is working as designed, so that's really helping us out, where maybe some of the older ones didn't have such an updated emergency spillway. And they also sat in on a conference with the state hydrologist, and we said that they're predicting Chagrin to go up another half a foot to foot until it starts coming down late Sunday, early Monday.
I think they're calling for like rain tomorrow.
Yeah,
and tomorrow.
Saturday.
Depending where that rain hits, basically.
So set in a briefing this afternoon on the weather. I mean, the predictions are kind of all over, you know, it's hard to nail down exactly, but there's going to be some pretty high amounts in some isolated areas, and so, you know, it's hard for them to even, if you've been watching any of the predictor gauges in Chagrin or New London, what they're saying, they can't even really account for what the predictions are based on the lack of knowledge of what we're going to get for rain, and so it could just really either extend those max heights or even have them creep higher. So just continue to work with those folks and do whatever we can to support, and I'll make sure to update the board and through social media when we learn a little bit more about what's going to happen with these roads.
Do we have any control over the energies work that's happening, given the influx of traffic? I mean, it just is concerning to me. I was driving to drop the kids off to school this morning, and they literally have both sides of the street just sort of blocked and are taking up space. And I had two semis going down Main Street with all their stuff blocking. Is there any way we can have, I mean, there was a tractor like literally kind of sideways and a diagonal at the corner, and it's kind of concerning when you've got big equipment there, right? Semis coming down, which we haven't been used to seeing for quite some time, and people trying to, at a four-way stop, turn and see, which it was just sort of concerning for me.
Yeah,
that corner.
It's a valid point, and that's what I said. I think tomorrow morning or tomorrow to have that extra patrol and really assess what things are going to look like now that M shut down, because we got a crazy, I mean, I think everybody noticed yesterday, like a crazy amount of traffic instantly. 154 shut down, and New London started shutting down their bridges and things. But I don't think it would, I mean, if it continues at that rate, I think to have that conversation, especially at our school times in the morning and the afternoons, and just say, if you can try to work around some of those times of the day.
Or just park appropriately, or what, I mean, whatever, just be more conscientious of that, because it was questionable, especially at that intersection with them parking diagonal, stuff on all sides, tubes and pipes everywhere, sidewalk missing pieces, and then you've got kids trying to walk to school yet, and cars and semis. I haven't seen semis on both sides for a long time, and buses and.
I felt bad for the crossing guard, really bad for the crossing guard, because that was crazy this morning.
Crazy dangerous, actually.
Yeah,
Have
and
you
that's
heard
why
anything about them, about the state possibly opening up 45, or they've torn it up so badly or the bypass that they can't?
I heard the guardrails are gone.
Yeah, I think they've reached the point.
Where they
I mean, I
can't.
can't go past that area, and I think that they've ripped up enough that it's my understanding that they wouldn't temporarily do an opening because of how far along they are in that project.
Well, yeah, the only reason people come this way is because that's how they get back on that other side of London. But I just was curious if anyone had heard anything.
Yeah, I know both of our crossing guards are, it's a struggle because we've got, those corners by the crosswalks that are ripped up right now.
Very.
So you're trying to work around that, and then yesterday we had that influx of traffic that goes through our intersection there that has no idea, or maybe have never been through that intersection before,
The
and a
freeways.
lot of them were being pushed through right at that traffic or school time, so. There were some things in the media as well, Fox 11, I think NBC 26 kind of picked up our pulse about our concerns, but again, tomorrow I think is a new day, we'll assess where traffic's at now that M shut down, and yeah, we'll have to continue to monitor. The concern out there is the culvert, the water is over County Road M at that culvert, and so they just don't want that to get compromised, so. A lot of water.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll move to D, Library Director, Ally.
We have a library board meeting on Monday. We're also trying to figure out how we can support the communities because Shiocton is completely shut down. New London is completely shut down. And we pull a lot of people from those areas. So we're trying to get the word out there that we have Wi-Fi, that we have chargers, that we,
I saw your post, that was great to do that. Thank
yeah,
you.
like
Yeah.
at least having a place for people to go that, you know, computer usage, Wi-Fi, whatever. So just trying to find ways to encourage people to come to us during all of this. Whether they can get here is one thing, but finding ways to support our neighboring libraries for sure. And that's pretty much it.
Any questions for Ally? Okay, we'll move to Attorney, Tyler.
Nothing really new. Ashley's still on maternity leave, so I'll be here for the foreseeable future. We've got some projects to work on with Nathan, so we'll keep those going, but otherwise, nothing else new.
Okay. F, Administrator, Nathan.
I have a report in the packet. Most of this week has been spent trying to verify levels of rainwater and trying to get as much water out of the lake as possible so that we have more capacity without over flooding people downstream. So it's been a lot of checking multiple different areas and testing, dropping the dam a little bit and testing how high that water gets up and try to not cause problems for anyone. And it's been going pretty good actually, so.
You've done a good job.
I will say,
That's
it
amazing.
is, I expected it to be a lot more water
Yeah.
behind our building, and you guys are doing a great job.
Do we have to go through the DNR when we lower or raise or do anything?
We don't, there's not, any kind of recommendations on file with the DNR. They've checked, they can't find anything besides a mention of a railroad spike, from the old dam in like the 1900s or something like that, so. It's something that they said that they would like to work with us on the future on, finding some recommendations. And it's one of the things that Bold has a consultant, doing a watershed plan for the lake. That's another thing that we asked them to look at, in that study as well. What would be some optimum recommendations for water levels, not only for, things like emergencies like this, but also to help try to manage some of the invasive species that are in the lake right now.
Okay.
Yeah, good job. It's been,
Yeah.
as people have said, it feels like we're in an entirely different world than Shaq and New London right now.
We're an island.
It's the most water I've ever seen going over that dam.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But the emergency spillway is working really good. It was designed, you could tell it's designed properly because it's keeping up with what's coming into the lake and then some. It's actually been lowering as water's coming in, so
Yeah.
that's
we
what it's
appreciate
designed
it.
to do.
Appreciate you keeping us safe. Okay, then we will go to G, Building Permit Report. It is in the packet. H, any other miscellaneous topics for future discussion? Anyone? Okay, we'll go to 11, Communication and Miscellaneous Business. A, Black Otter Lake District News, Bob.
We had our meeting last Thursday, and I've got a handout here that I sent around with it. Generally, just trying to get the harvester, the weed harvester up to speed, a little more efficient. Going to get it inspected, I guess, by an outside source to see if there's anything we can do to kind of update that, so to speak, and make it more efficient. Probably the biggest thing is the commission now is relooking at the possibility of expanding the inclusion of all the properties in the watershed area there. Aaron had some good information from the University of Stevens Point. It's a video that's going to be
Yep, I'm
available.
gonna try to get it out there we'll put it on our website and try to get it posted other places too, so that people can get more information on it. But basically, just talks about increasing the size of your watershed district and some of the pros and what I didn't know was cons of doing that and kind of the process behind it.
Is it a long process?
Yeah, and specialized attorneys and things like that.
And then you had a case study too of a village of New Richmond that was an existing water district and that went to expand it. And then all the property owners that were included in that came to the annual meeting frustrated with it and denied the budget and wouldn't accept the budget. So basically the commission ended up disbanding
Oh my gosh.
because there was the majority, 2/3 of the voting members were disgruntled
Because they were
property
forced
owners
in.
brought in. So you gotta be careful what you wish for. And I'm glad that you caught that and that we're, looking at that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a topic we're gonna bring up at the next board meeting to have additional discussion.
Well, that's one way to get people to show up to your annual meeting. Isn't that usually the thing? How can we get more people to participate? Sorry,
Any other questions?
tried to sidetrack your
Lighten it
doom
up
and
a little
gloom
bit.
there, yeah.
We'll go to the Hortonville Hortonia Fire District news. Jim?
So we had a meeting on Wednesday, fire budget was presented, discussed, and then, the EMS budget wasn't available, there was a medical issue with the treasurer, so. Fire calls are up, about 30 from last year. There's a copy of them if anybody's interested. Nathan was there, we talked about the ambulance service agreement, and basically the consensus was that it's gonna get pushed to fire and EMS, and more so, it's gonna fall under EMS, is my understanding of the conversation. Not that it's gonna make any difference, it's just gonna fall under their umbrella, it should anyway, they deal with them. And Hortonia is gonna look into their stuff, for how they're handling it. The fire department did get a mutual aid agreement with Dale, so now they have, or auto aid, so now they have auto aid agreements with all of our surrounding communities. That just means that they're available to help us and we're available to help them based off of the calls that we get. Some of it makes a whole lot of sense, like there's some areas in New London that are closer to us to get to than it is New London, so, in New London's perspective that, we can get there in 5 minutes and New London can get there in 15 or 18 minutes, so, it works out really well in that particular case. But there are cases that it benefits us significantly as well as, anyway, they're looking at, the fire department was looking at adding another bay, and they looked at the cost, it was around $300,000 to add another bay. In lieu of that, they looked at the cost for building a 30-foot by 40-foot building, an outbuilding, at a cost of around $50,000. So 1/6 of that cost, so that's preferable. And Jack said that there's a possibility that they might be able to self-fund that. So they, through their fundraising activities and stuff that they do, there's a possibility that us and Hortonia may not have to pay at all for that. They are going to be redoing the parking lot, I think, before our next meeting. And that is July 15th is the next meeting. It's not the first Wednesday, it will be the second Wednesday of July. That's it.
Any questions for Jim? Okay, we'll go to C, Gold Cross Ambulance Run Report and News. It is in the packet. D, Hortonville Civic Association. Jane, nothing new. And E, Senior Activities. Jane?
I have nothing to report on that.
They met today. It was general talk about what they're going to put in their calendars and, for the Village Voice. And then, some talk on planning for the Oktoberfest, so. And if, maybe next time, Pat will have a report for the packet, so. We will go to 12, comments and suggestions from citizens present. Are there any? Okay, then we will go to 13. I would need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. It is 7:36.